Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Esteban with All American Print Supply, and if you hang out with me today, we're gonna show you how to use the DIY Subli Glaze spray coatings to prep normal, everyday products for sublimation dye transfer printing. Metal, ceramic, wood, stone, even dark and black objects as well. With the full range of aerosol spray options, there's sure to be something for your next DIY dye sub project. We're gonna be working with the Subli Glaze clear coating. Now before we dive into this product, I do want to mention the adhesion promoter. This is going to be specifically for your smoother surfaces, so think acrylic, metal, glass, and such. This will essentially act as a primer for the sublimation coating to allow it to bond better to our surface. Now for today, we're going to be using this regular piece of oak wood that we got cut locally at a hardware store. Now do keep in mind, this will require patience as preparation is a process. Now, first thing you're always going to want to do, using a clean cloth or rag, always wipe down the surface that you will be treating for sublimation. You want to make sure that's removed of any dust, dirt, or grease, so that's nice and clean. So go ahead and just clean this like so. Now, for the actual spray process, you want to be about 1 foot with the clear coating and do even coats. Now you can do multiple for more of a glossy finish, but you never want to put too much so that the coating actually begins to pool. I like to go horizontal, let that air dry for just a moment, and then vertical to get the most even application. Now before you do spray, the manufacturer does advise shaking the can for 1 minute to make sure all the contents are properly agitated for proper application. Start the timer. Okay, there we go, about 60 seconds. Now let's get to the actual application. Now, because this is going to be an aerosol spray solution, you do want to make sure your work area is already prepped for any kind of overspray or mist where you're going to be working. I've laid down some cardboard, just a good tip to make sure your work area stays nice and clean. Now, again, we're going to be spraying this from about 1 foot away in nice, smooth, even coats. So we'll start horizontally. And now we'll go vertical with the same kind of motion. Now it is recommended to perform this application process, perhaps in a ventilated or outdoor area, just so you don't have any kind of vapors or steams kind of clogged up in your work area. After you've applied your even layers of the Subli Glaze coating, it's recommended to let it air dry for about 10 minutes. That was a quick 10 minutes. Now we're ready to cure it in our convection oven, one we're not going to be cooking with. Remember that. We're going to be curing our coated product for about 15 to 20 minutes at 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Now if you noticed, we're using this light colored wood block for today's project. However, if you did want a true white background, you can use the Subli Glaze white base coating. Now please note, this is not a sublimation coating in itself, this is just going to be the white background. Also keep in mind, this will essentially double your workload as you will need to let this air dry for about 5 minutes and then perform the same curing in an oven for about 15 to 20. However, if you follow all the steps successfully before you apply your choice of Subli Glaze sublimation coating, you'll have a nice rich white background and a sublimatable surface, available for your darker or black objects that you wish to treat for sublimation transfer printing. Now, I've got my oven, like I said, queued up to 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Got my timer set for about 15 to 20 minutes. We're gonna carefully place this inside and give this a quick cure. Drop that in there. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. There we go. So the recommended settings for curing in your oven, again, that's gonna be 320 degrees Fahrenheit for between 15 to 20 minutes. We went ahead and went right in the middle at about 17 and a half. Timer's done. Now you do want to be very careful when removing any kind of contents from your oven as it will be very warm. Again, 320 degrees Fahrenheit. So just carefully bring this out like so. It already looks nice and dry. Get the grip here. There we have it. Get this guy closed up. All right. Now we're gonna bust out our Epson F170 dye sublimation printer, get a quick transfer printed up. We'll see how this coating works out. Stay tuned. All right, now like we mentioned, we got our Epson F170 dye sublimation printer, and today we've got it loaded up with the Epson multi-purpose dye sublimation transfer paper. Let's see how this works out. Now, quick tip for all of my sublimation printers, new and old, always make sure to mirror your image or print it backwards or in reverse, because we're gonna be pressing it face down. And there we have it. Now, if you're new to sublimation, you may notice your prints come out a little dull or not as vibrant as you see on screen. That's because the heat press is gonna activate the colors, release them from the paper onto our treated substrate, and give us the real color value. Today we're gonna be working with our Prisma Swing Away heat press. One of the reasons I love a swing away is it allows me to do other items outside of clothing, things that may be thicker than a t-shirt. Because the closure of the swing away is gonna go straight down, I'm gonna be able to achieve that even contact that you just might not get with a clamshell. Now, as you can see, I've got my parchment paper already loaded to prevent any kind of gassing of the sublimation process once we're in action on the machine. I got my mirrored transfer right here. And we're gonna go ahead and just place this in a central position. Now on some products, it may be advised to use heat tape, but I think this is gonna stay in place because I've got a little bit of experience with this kind of transfer printing. Now before we close it, I do wanna protect my heating element also. So let's get another piece of parchment on top. Now we're pressing this for about 385 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1 minute. Temperature settings can vary product to product, so always check your recommended settings before attempting any new product. Test, test, test. Let's swing this guy around. We're up to temperature. Let's go ahead and drop this down for a minute. All right, so we're just about the end of our countdown timer. Now, there's a number of reasons I'm not gonna go in and just remove the transfer right away. One, we did have this press at almost 400 degrees, so it's probably pretty hot to the touch. And two, the sublimation process is quite scientific. The ink starts off as a liquid, we print it onto a paper where it's essentially a solid, and then under high heat, it's actually turning into a gas. Now because the heating element is keeping the transfer in place on my specially treated sublimation substrate, it's gonna force that gas directly onto the surface and it's gonna dye it in a permanent fashion, which is great. For things like drinkware or other dishes, we have a fully microwavable and dishwashable, fully permanent transfer on those products. And on applicable material, talking about high percentage of polyester in white or very light color, you'll have zero hand feel, and like I said, you're literally dyeing the surface with sublimation, so fully permanent process. Now that should be pretty good. Again, always test, 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 and exercise caution. Let's go ahead and place this off to the side. Let's go ahead and do a nice peel here from the corner. Now there we have it. There is a little tape residue on here which I can rub off with some gentle abrasion, but as you can see we got that green activated, and because this was not a white background, we really got the personality of that wood grain showing through the texture. And the same thing would apply had we used something like, say, a brushed aluminum, which you'll see on drinkware or photo panels. But if you didn't want a true white background, that Sublimaze white base coating would be a nice project to use. But again, remember, you're gonna have to cook that in the same way we did the sublimation coating before we apply the coating and treatment of your choice. But I think if I get a little of this paper off, this would be a great keepsake, gift, or nice addition to any of your e-commerce customization stores. All right, so I got a little bit of steel wool we just had hanging around in the warehouse, and I can already tell with some light abrasion, all that paper is coming off like butter. And because we did a good job of our actual coating, I'm willing to bet none of that ink is coming off. Look at that. Now, over here at All American Print Supply, we're probably gonna conduct some more testing to find the very perfect setting so the paper does not stick, but we do always recommend follow the settings to a T. The drying, the air drying, the curing in the oven, especially before you take on any type of order with your new custom sublimation goods. And you know, with the range of different aerosol Subli Glaze treatments, we're sure to have something to fit your products and needs. If you do have any questions, you can leave those in the comment section down below. We've got description links for all the different Subli Glaze in the description down below you can check at or connect with a friendly representative. I mean, there is a little bit of a learning curve here, I would say, but all in all, it's a pretty straightforward process if you follow the instructions, and then you can see how easy it was to remove any of that excess residue. That's pretty much gonna do it for this video, guys. My name is Esteban. We are All American Print Supply. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.